see me out there vibing freely? I don't care, I'm a vibe anywhere. Take a drive or by fair, applying pressure cause I'm rare. It's the vibe for me, it's the vibe for me. Do you see me out there vibing freely?
We'll get started. All right, you're watching live in the DTV. We are joined today by Mr. Paul A. Garrison, who has 25 years of experience in small business development, supplier diversity, and economic development. He has served as the business development manager with Cole Financial Services, representative to the Michigan Minority Business Development Council, and worked in the minority enterprise industry with companies such as Cosmopolitan Enterprises, Keys Group, Inc., and Cole Financial Services. And Mr. Garrison started his own economic development consulting firm in 2008 when he entered a contract with Techtown Detroit as its professional project manager, overseeing the M1 rail contract for survey and analysis, which consisted of managing the team that was responsible for tracking all the small businesses in downtown Midtown and New Center area, for communicating coordination on the profit and creating a GIS system for mapping. Mr. Garrison presently serves as a business manager for OBA, NEI, which is the Osborne Business Association, New Economy Initiative, Entrepreneur and Small Initiative for Northeast Detroit. Though Osborne community-based organization has been recognized as a small business champion for several communities and instructions, under the leadership of OBA and NEI, Business Cohort Program has graduated 136 businesses. This program assists small businesses with formalization, connecting the resources, as ascertaining capital funding, and competing for grant funding. Paul earned his undergraduate degree in business economics from the University of Michigan, his master's of urban planning and economic development from Wayne State University, and his graduate certificate in economic development from Wayne State University. He is presently working on his project management professional certification, or PMP, and he's here joining us today on Live in the DTV. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine. I wish you would slow down.
All right, sir. Yeah, we'll do that.
You're killing your words.
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you. Good note. So your business, Osborne Business Association, where you're helping businesses get on track, get funding, and obviously you're very qualified. So how does a business qualify for participation?
So the Osborne Business Association, first of all, I'm the director of the Osborne Business Association. Also, we have graduated 350 businesses to date. Okay, so that must be an old bio,
right,
that you have. But we work with entrepreneurs and small business owners in the neighborhoods in the city of Detroit, throughout the entire city of Detroit. The New Economy Initiative, which is where the grant originated from, funds the program, the Osborne Business Cohort Program. And the Osborne Business Association is a division of the Osborne Neighborhood Alliance. The Osborne Neighborhood Alliance was founded in 2008 by Quincy Jones, who is the executive director. The Osborne Business Association was founded in 2012. I came on in 2015 when they got the grant from the New Economy Initiative. NEI is a lucrative nonprofit foundation that is made up of several foundations and corporations, which funds this initiative to help entrepreneurs and small business owners in the city of Detroit, Hamtramck, Highland Park, and now we cover the entire county of Wayne County as well. And we work with entrepreneurs and small businesses, and we take them from an informal economy to a formal economy. The difference is making sure that they have their financial statements in place, tax returns are taken care of, profit and loss statements are in place, projections are in place, things of that nature. Make sure they are properly registered with the state of Michigan and have their certificate of compliance, whatever they need to have in order to operate their business in a formal, legal manner.
Right.
And that's what we specialize in. I also co-chair the committees of the New Economy Initiative, and I am also a partner with what's called the Detroit Means Business Initiative, DMB, if you're not familiar with that. And that is an initiative which Mayor Mike Duggan put in place through DEGC, Detroit Economic Growth Corporation, which I partner with on a lot of the initiatives that I work on.
Okay. So what got you into all this, immersed you into helping businesses build, helping the economy of Detroit build, into neighborhood development and all that?
What led me to do this work was my grandfather. My grandfather had told us or taught us to not complain about things, that if you're not part of the solution, you are part of the problem. So I came up in Detroit that was very beautiful. We didn't have all this blight and all this stuff that exists today. The neighborhoods were clean. My grandparents had a house in what's called Conant Gardens. Conant Gardens was the first Black neighborhood where African Americans were able to own their own property. And it was a middle-class neighborhood. So when I saw all this blight and everything taking place in our city, the breakdown of our city, God told me I had to do something about it. So that's what led me to do the work that I do today, to bring about and promote change and progress.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. I mean, it's not enough to just see something and complain about it. We got to get to work.
That's right.
Right. So what programs are set in the future, in the near future and presently with the Osborne Business Association, the New Economy Initiative, and the other initiatives and programs that you're a part of?
One of the programs that we're focused on, which we're going to roll out in April of 2022, is what we call the Technology Training Program, which is going to help entrepreneurs and small business owners of color, minority, women business owners engage and enable them in utilizing technology for their business sustainability. A lot of businesses, especially Black businesses, when the pandemic hit, were not prepared to do business by utilizing technology. They did not have websites in place. They did not have curbside delivery set up. They did not have electronic payment systems in place and things of that nature. And a lot of businesses went out of business when the pandemic hit. There was a lot of businesses that did not get COVID-19 relief grants or forgivable loans through the Small Business Administration because they were not technology enabled. Our people are behind in every aspect of life. So what some people call gaps or what some people call barriers, everyone now recognizes that things exist. Social inequity, economic inequality, all those type of things exist due to systemic racism, the impact of strategic systemic racism. And so we are working toward trying to close some of those gap areas.
Absolutely. And the first thing you said there was that a lot of these businesses weren't prepared during COVID-19 due to not having the proper technology, curbside pickup or curbside deliver, and finance. So what are some of the most common mistakes that you see and you've noticed with doing this so long that a lot of urban businesses fall short on as far as finance, marketing, technology, and more? Like what is the most common thing that you see, the most common mistakes they make?
What Malcolm X said years ago.
And what's
Malcolm
that?
X said, Malcolm X, your name is Muhammad, right?
Yes, sir.
Malcolm X said years ago, if you want to hide anything from Black men, put it in the book.
Huh. Yes.
They don't read.
Right.
They don't research. They don't read. They don't research. So if you don't read and you don't research, how can you be informed?
Right.
How can you learn something?
Absolutely.
Let me tell you something, the whole key to life is preparation. even in you reading what you was reading about me. That sounds like it's the first time you read it. It should have been the 10th time you read it. So when you were ready to do your interview, it was already in your brain. It was already comprehended. It was already memorized to a degree.
Right.
Let me tell you something. Preparation is one of the main keys to success. In my program I teach, there are 4 Ds to success surrounded by organization: dedication, determination, desire, and discipline. Surrounded by organization shall equal success. I'm a Black man that graduated from the University of Michigan. There's not too many of us that graduate from U of M.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, to get into U of M, you have to be highly academically astute. People come from all over the world and go to the University of Michigan. How many Blacks from Detroit go to U of M?
That's a good point.
Not too many. But you got everybody coming from all over the world going to the University of Michigan. It's a highly prestigious and competitive university. But one of the things that university teach you, and it teaches us, and Wolverines are embedded in, is research. It's a research university. We are taught how to research and the importance of research. Because if you don't do your research, if you don't do your study, then you will not be prepared. You will not be informed. A lot of our people are not prepared because they don't do their research and reading.
Yes, sir. I agree.
So you asked me the question of why a lot of them are in situations, position in. That's why.
Absolutely. So with your programs, Osborne Business Association, New Economy Initiative, the Detroit Means Business, and others, are they set up per semester, like the businesses that you graduated, are they set up per semester? Are they set up, or are they set up for specific businesses? How do they work?
I'm afraid I don't quite understand what you're saying. There are several different types of businesses that register and participate in the Osborne Business Association Business Cohort program.
Mm-hmm.
The program, when they come to our program, it's a 6-week program. And he meets 6 weeks consecutively on Tuesdays from 6 to 8 p.m. When they come through the program, there are 4 main facilitators of the session. And that is Accounting Aid Society, Miller Canfield Law Firm, Food Lab Detroit, which covers our marketing, and SBDC, Small Business Development Center, which is a division of the Small Business Administration. So SBDC covers the business plan component. Accounting Aid Society covers the accounting, the bookkeeping, the importance of things like that, taxes, tax returns. Miller Canfield Law Firm covers the business law, corporation entities, intellectual properties, and things like that. And then Food Lab Detroit covers the marketing, the social media marketing, and the importance of marketing and operating a business. So they are introduced to a formalization of how businesses operate in order to be successful and sustainable. It's kind of like a mini business course to be successful in business. And it's been extremely, extremely impactful and successful.
Yes, sir. That's excellent. And
we have leveraged over $15 million in capital funding to our businesses since 2015.
15 million since 2015.
Over 15 million in capital funding since 2015 to our businesses that have come through the business cohort program and have become members of the Osborne Business Association, which is a citywide business association. Some individuals refer to it as Detroit Black Wall Street.
Okay, yes, sir. And I've heard, I'm familiar with the work of the Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma, things that went on. How you said that we meet every 6 weeks. The class starts every 6 weeks. So when is the next semester?
No. The class goes 6 weeks and it takes place once per quarter.
Once per quarter. Okay.
Once per quarter, we have a business cohort program. The next business cohort program will be starting in April.
Next starts in April.
Yes, sir. April 2022.
All right. So mark that in your calendars, April 2022. Next business cohort program with the Osborne Business Association.
And you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome to give them my cell phone or my email so they can make contact me in case they would like to register for it. That's okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, we thank you so much again for what you're doing, the information given, and helping to increase economic development, especially in urban areas. Like you said, Detroit has a lot of blight and broken down houses, broken into businesses, and we're constantly closing our doors.
Detroit has a lot of things, unfortunately. I was involved in a research project for Wayne State University, University of Michigan, my economic development consulting firm. And in this research project, which was conducted in 2016, 2017, what we found was that 58% of the adult residential population in the city of Detroit is functionally adult illiterate. 67% of the adult residential population in the city of Detroit is subsidized. And that means either receiving a DHS grant, SSI, or SSD. Subsidized people do not pay taxes.
Right. So for Detroiters that, of course, watching this, they'll now be informed, they'll know about your classes. But for so many of our people that are uninformed, and like you said, it's the key to it is just getting yourself informed and being prepared by reading, by memorizing. How do we help? So how do we get more of our people in front of the information that they need? And so that way we are, the solution.
We have to get our people to engage again in education. In the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, Blacks went to school. Blacks went to HBCUs, historical Black colleges and universities. Or they went to school. They went to school because school was and is the most important aspect in life for Black people in the United States of America, which is an extremely strategically racist country, and it shall continue to be. School and education is the most liberating format for Black people. What happened was a lot of Blacks, especially in Detroit, got caught up in the manufacturing industry, automotive, and because they were getting paid good money and had a middle-class life, they ran away from education. So when the automotive industry shut down or went overseas due to the trade agreements, we had NAFTA first, North American Free Trade Agreement, then we had CAFTA, the Central American Free Trade Agreement. Manufacturing went overseas. Even now we got so many problems with these chips because we depended on the chips coming out of China. Because the United States don't produce the chips. They're being produced in China. But because the manufacturing went overseas, the jobs left. Blacks were left in a very dire strait situation, put it that way, because they no longer could sustain life with those manufacturing jobs because they no longer was here. So, and they had abandoned the educational component.
Right.
So that devastated us.
Absolutely. And you talk about that the country is strategically set up to be racist. And it's interesting because the issue that a lot of people would say or try to counter with is that, well, college, education, school is so expensive, and I don't, want to put myself in debt and take out all of these loans. Well, somebody recently told me, he said, well, you should go to college and get your master's, get your bachelor's. And I said, well, do I really need that? He said, well, because I have that same reasoning. And he said, well, there's a such thing as a good kind of debt. And that's what that is. You put yourself in debt, and then you put yourself in position to know the information and be able to provide, a better life for yourself, and just have that information because you now have access to it. You can live. You don't have to depend on a manufacturing job in the automotive industry. You can make your own jobs. And that's what we got to have gotten away from, kind of, too.
Okay, so, I mean, in life, one may acquire debt. There's good debt, there's bad debt. If you acquire debt because you invest in yourself as a human being, so you are able to be sustainable and have a civilized lifestyle, that's good debt. But right. I'm gonna share something with you. Our people have been bamboozled, not only by the systemic racism of white America, but they also been bamboozled by a lot of ministers and reverends and individuals, clergy people like that as well. Mm-hmm. They've been bamboozled. They've been taught that as Black people, they need to be Democrat and only Democrat. Mm-hmm. That's idiotic. Why would you want all your people to be the same? If all your people are the same, how can you have diversity? How can you have representation at different levels, at different platforms? Right. You don't want all your people to be the same. I am a Black Republican. My hero is Frederick Douglass, a Black Republican. Frederick Douglass was extremely successful at a time in America where Black men could not even legally, they couldn't even legally speak. They couldn't legally speak. They didn't have they couldn't legally vote. They couldn't legally own certain things, but yet Frederick Douglass was a multi-millionaire. Hmm. Frederick Douglass was a Republican. W.E.B. Du Bois, the doctrine of the talented tenth. Our people do not understand their history or their ancestry anymore. When I came up in school and I went to DPS, Detroit Public Schools, when it was a functional school system, the teachers lived in the communities. They lived in the neighborhoods. You saw them at church. You saw them at the gas station. You saw them at the grocery store. They were part of your community. There was a vested interest in the teachers to teach the people because they were part of the people and part of the community. That is not the case today. That's why a lot of the teachers in the educational systems today, especially in urban communities, do not work. They don't work because the people have no vested interest. Right. They teach in a school in Detroit, but they live in Farmington Hills. They live in Southfield. They live in Beverly Hills, Berkeley. They don't live here. So they don't have the vested interest. They're not part of the community. And if you're not part of the community, how can you empower or engage the community? Right. It's not your community. Yeah, you don't. Nor do you invest your dollars in it. So Detroit Public Schools, when I came up in homeroom class, which is the first class to begin the day of school, we stood up and we did the Pledge of Allegiance with our hands over our heart like this. We did the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States of America. Right behind doing the Pledge of Allegiance, we sung the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing. Most of you young people today don't know a darn thing about Lift Every Voice and Sing. You ain't never heard of it. Now in the AME church, which I am a steward, which is the equivalent of a deacon in the Baptist church. I'm a steward in the AME church, Bethel AME church. In the AME church, we still sing Lift Every Voice and Sing, lift Every Voice and Sing Today.
Right.
That is our Black national anthem. When Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, the Blacks doing civil rights, or marching or protesting for civil rights, the song that we sung in unison was Lift Every Voice and Sing, till earth and heaven ring. That was our anthem. Black people do not have an anthem today. They have nothing that unites them as one. I was having a conversation with one of my business owners yesterday because I had to go buy some socks. Name of the place is Hooper's Place, which is on Livernois. His name is Roger Hooper. He owns Hooper Place right on Livernois between 7 Mile and Clare River. But I was there and I was having a conversation with him and another gentleman. And we were talking about this very subject matter. And that is, I pointed out to them that Blacks in the South are way, way, way ahead and more advanced than Blacks in the North. Because Blacks in the South are still unified. They're still connected. They have generational wealth. They teach their children. They have legacy attendance at HBCUs. Their grandparents went to the same HBCU that they go to, just as well as their parents.
Right.
I went to Howard University School of Law. And when I went to Howard University School of Law, I ran into something that I'd never seen in my life. What I was introduced to was Black legacy wealth. There was a lot of students coming to the law school, reporting to the law school for the first year of law, or returning for a second or third year. And everyone was driving Porsches, Saabs, Audis, BMWs, Mercedes, new cars, just driving up to the university. And I, for the first time in my life, and I'm from a upper middle class family. My father is a retired fire chief. My mother is a retired corporate businesswoman from what is now AT&T, which was Michiganville, SPC, Ameritech, AT&T. So I had a good life. I was in Jim Danny's ski club. I was in Blizzard Ski School. I was in tennis camp. I lettered in golf and tennis in high school. And I also was the chairman of student council. But I came from a middle class background, but when I was at Howard Law School,
right,
I was so intimidated. I felt poor because I didn't have that stuff. I was on foot. Now, I eventually got a motorcycle because, my dad always got motorcycles because we love motorcycles.
Right.
So I had a motorcycle. But all these kids, all these students had polished, plush apartments in Washington, D.C., which has an expensive lifestyle with beautiful, beautiful cars. What I saw was Black wealth. Black wealth does exist. But you don't get to see that in Detroit.
Right.
You don't get to see that in Detroit. If you do not come up in Sherwood Forest, Palmer Woods, University District, Golf Course area, Grand Mount Rosedale, Jefferson East, in certain locations, you don't see Black wealth. You go all through Detroit, and it's really unfortunate. All you see is negative. Poverty. Individuals that can't even speak English properly. They do not have a vocabulary to speak English. So as a result, they strictly use profanity.
Right.
Why do people use profanity? Most people, especially Black people, use profanity because they can't speak English.
Wow.
So if they can't speak English, do you think they can write a grammatically structured sentence?
Probably
Paragraph? Nope, not at all. I'm telling you, man, illiteracy is a big problem.
Absolutely. Wow.
Deep. That's deep, ain't it?
Yeah, it runs deep, and it's just as you're talking, so many thoughts come to my head, and it's interesting that you say that because again, strategic way they've done this. We're trying to think that wherever we are, that's just you stay in that situation. And you said one of the first things you said as you were explaining your history and how you learned is that Blacks in the South are more advanced than actually Blacks in the North, and which is kind of strange to think about because technically we have more access to the technology, to schools, but like you said,
who has more access to technology in schools?
Blacks in the North. We have
What makes you think we have more access to technology in school? Why would you say that?
Because we have programs such as the DAPSET programs and the historical museums. So we have
okay.
And it's
but you're saying we have something. Have you done research to solidify and justify that?
Based off of as far as reading on the internet or a book, no, but based off of actually going down south and the distance of it takes to get to the colleges and get to certain areas is, a lot further than here in the North. We can get places in 15 minutes that they have to drive an hour or so for. So that's what I'm basing off my information off of, is actually going down there and seeing that when I visit Mississippi and I visit Arkansas.
Okay. Because depending on where you are in the South, that could be true.
Mm-hmm.
But you have more HBCUs in North Carolina.
Yeah, I didn't know that too.
Than any other state. You got a lot of HBCUs in South Carolina. You got a lot in Florida. A lot of them are in the South.
Mm-hmm. Now, why is that though? Because I got a list of every HBCU in the country, and it's almost as if it's a line, like it's tracked from Atlanta, North Carolina, Virginia. Most of them are almost at like in a perfect kind of curve. They come up the side. They come from the south, and they come up like the side of the country.
The reason why you have the HBCUs in the South is because Blacks primarily lived in the South. Mm-hmm. Because they were slaves.
Right.
And they were slaves in cotton fields and things of that nature. That was in the South. The plantations were in the South. Mm-hmm. There wasn't plantations in the North. The plantations were in the South. So the reason why you have the HBCUs in the South is because we as a people were not allowed to go to white schools.
Right.
HBCUs were created, 80% of HBCUs were founded by the African Methodist Episcopalian Church, either founded or co-founded by the AME Church, which is my church, my church body. And the HBCUs are in the South because Blacks were in the South. We could not go to white schools, so we had to create our own school systems. And that's how you develop HBCUs, because that's the only way that we can have an education. And when HBCUs were first created, most of them were land grant agricultural universities, like Florida A&M. That's why a lot of your HBCUs are A&M, agriculture and mechanical. But then we emerged, we developed from that, and we created the Hampton universities, the Xaviers, the Dillards. The first university and the largest, of course, is Howard University. That's why Howard University has most of the Divine 8 Black fraternities and sororities. The Alpha chapters are at Howard University.
Right. Mm. So the history is there, and it's so rich that just as we're talking, it just makes so much sense. And again, all these things can be found if you just doing your research, just reading, just having conversations.
Yep, yep. A friend of mine gave me a book. I'm gonna show it to you real fast.
Okay.
A friend of mine bought a book for me, and she bought it because she knows who my heroes are. And my Black heroes are Frederick Douglass, W.E.B. Du Bois, and Malcolm X. And I predicate my life, my morals, my values on those three men because they're great men. But she got me this book, Frederick Douglass, Prophet of Freedom. I love Frederick Douglass, Prophet of Freedom. Frederick was so far advanced and ahead of his time.
Right.
He was teaching people, trying to teach Blacks what freedom was during the time when all of them were slaves.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Frederick was a free man.
Right.
He was a free man. But in those days, there weren't too many Black men that was free men.
Mm-hmm.
Frederick Douglass' first wife was a Black woman. And she got ill and she died of a certain illness. And the caregiver to her was a white woman. And Frederick and Douglass ended up falling in love with that lady and married her. He was married, his second wife was a white woman.
Mm.
Way back in the time that if a Black man even looked at a white woman,
He get lynched.
he'd get lynched. So Frederick Douglass, and I shared that because I'm going to Florida tomorrow. I'm on vacation. My vacation started today. And I'm going to Florida tomorrow to Orlando. I'm going to Westgate Resorts and relax because I need to relax.
Right.
But while I'm going to be reading through this beautiful book on Frederick Douglass. And we're talking about a gentleman that existed in 1855, 1876, plantations and slavery.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a millionaire. Could you imagine that?
Yeah. Wow.
Could you imagine being a Black millionaire in 1855, 1870?
Mm.
My God.
Wow.
That is so far ahead of the curve in advance.
Yeah.
But my point is this. It's really unfortunate. The Black community has fallen. A lot of it is due to systemic racism. But Mr. Muhammad, I want you to understand that the vast majority of it is due to the Black man's delinquency and his irresponsibility.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that the vast majority is due to the Black man's delinquency and his irresponsibility. In the city of Detroit, 75% of the households are headed by women. 75%. The vast majority of business owners in the Osborne Business Association who come through my business core program, 75% of the participants are Black women. Where are the Black men? Why is it that in the Black community, I'm a father, I have a 14-year-old son. I have a joint physical custody with my son. I have a legal joint physical custody document, which I had to do a petition and complaint to exercise my paternal right as father to my son. Now I did it as his mother had threatened to send my son to her mom and her mother's her mother's husband. They're very well off, well-to-do. He's a college president, professor, and stuff like that. And I explained to her that our son is our responsibility. It's our responsibility to develop him, to raise him. You know what I mean? But she had made that threat a third time. And upon the third time, I filed a complaint and I exercised my paternal rights. And once you do that, then that child could not be moved outside of a 100-mile radius. But I got joint custody, joint legal custody, joint physical custody. I am a custodial parent.
Right.
Why is it that so many Black women have children, but yet the father is not in their lives? How is that possible? How can a Black man allow himself to have children with a woman? I don't care if they was in love, not in love. The bottom line is, if you get a woman pregnant and she has a child, you have a responsibility to take care of that child.
Absolutely.
As a man, you have a responsibility. Detroit has a lot of Black males. It does not have a lot of Black men. There's a difference. How old are you? How old are you?
27.
You're 27 years old. You're doing this interview with me. You seem very intelligent. You went to school, right?
Yes, sir.
And you got a bachelor's, right?
I have an associate's.
You have an associate's, okay. Then perhaps you return and complete your bachelor's, or maybe go for your master's or something like that. But the bottom line is, you went to school, you're a learned man. You're having a conversation with a man that's 30 years older, you're 58 years of age. You're very respectful. You refer to me as sir. Yes, sir. No, sir. You're very respectful. You have morals. You have values. You have integrity. If you were to have a child, I guarantee you would be a father, not a sperm donor. There's a difference.
Right.
A father is one that nurtures, develops, loves, support his child. He loves his child. He's there for his child. I want to move to the South. I'm ready to move to Raleigh, North Carolina right now, or Charleston, South Carolina. I wish to retire to Charleston, South Carolina, what's called the Isle of Palms, and be a professor at the HBCU. That's my goal. I want to be a professor at the HBCU. I can't leave right now. Why can't I leave? Because my son is 14 years of age. He just got accepted into Renaissance High School. He doesn't have to go to UAD, which I was going to be sending him to UAD, but he got accepted to Renaissance. So I made a deal with he and his mother. If he gets into Renaissance, he can go there. My son wants to go to MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
Yep.
I cannot leave until my son graduates high school and is successfully into a university. Once he goes to a university, then I can move. But for right now, I can't move to another state in the South and my son here in Detroit. How am I going to be a father?
Right.
How am I going to be his father if I'm living in South Carolina?
You can't.
Can't.
Yes, sir. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation, Mr. Garrison. I thank you so much, because the information is needed, and we have to start educating ourselves, informing ourselves, and be, like you said, be men, be women. It's so interesting that you said that over 75% of your students are women. And I noticed that too, because I interview a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of artists, and most of my guests, a friend brought it up to me, were women. And she was a young one. She said, because when we were doing this in person, we would go to a local internet Black-owned TV station here in Highland Park. I'm pretty sure you heard of it, WHPR.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing the show there. And so I would take a picture with all my guests. And I'd say somewhere between 70 and 80% of my guests were women. So if a friend of mine was going through my phone one day, she said, "Why do you only interview women?" And I said, "What?" She said, "You only interview women." I said, "I honestly did not know that." And then I started looking back at all my interviews. I said, "Well, most of my interviews are women." So now I try to make sure I practice and purposefully go after some entrepreneurial men, some authors that are men, because where are our brothers at? I mean, it's insane almost.
But you mentioned WHPR. RJ Watkins is a buddy of mine. He's over there. As you saw, I used to work with Keys Group. Keys Group was owned by a gentleman by the name of Brady Keys. Brady Keys was an all-pro safety cornerback with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Keys Group owned all the Burger Kings in the city of Detroit. We had 10 Burger Kings at one particular point in time. RJ Watkins and Mr. Brady Keys were very close friends, and we had a show called The Scene. So if you were at WHPR, then you should probably know something about The Scene, because RJ Watkins was one of the producers of The Scene. And his son is doing work today, which you, if you're over there, then you probably know his son.
Yeah.
But
Watkins Jr.
You look like a gentleman that I know who there's a great chance he might be your father, because your last name is Muhammad.
Derek Muhammad? You know him?
Yes.
Yeah, that's my father.
Yeah, you look like.
I think he's literally coming through the door right now.
Yep, yes, you look like your father. So your father and your mother used to be vendors at my Highland Park Farmers Market. Okay, and I remember you when you was much younger.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, I know your father and I know your mother.
Okay.
And also, I was on a show called The Son of Man.
Yes, sir. That's who we follow. Leader and teacher of the Nation of Islam, Son of Man. Actually, our Savior's Day is this Sunday. Well, it'll be virtual because COVID, but our Savior's Day is Sunday. I'll email you that flyer as well.
Yeah. So I'm very familiar. I was on The Son of Man, that show. I was on there as an interviewee. But yeah, I can tell, and I know where you're from. You look just like your father.
Yes, sir. Okay, I appreciate that. That I get that all the time. I do, but I appreciate that, man. It's come full circle, and I was able to interview you, and you are familiar with, of course, but most of the things that we're doing. So you're familiar with the Nation of Islam, which our base is in Mississippi. That's why I said, a lot of the technology is kind of spread out more down there. It's a lot, you have to travel a lot further, but the way, again, we have our own school that we teach at. So you said we have to build our own school. One thing that I would really like to see is more colleges. Like we build our own curriculum, because it's so easy for some of us to start going to school and get distracted. I'll say it that way. So a better focus is what's needed, I think, too.
And yeah, and I can agree with that. But one thing I would suggest to you, especially after this interview and conversation with you, I want you to go back to school. Complete your degrees. Degrees are extremely important for a Black man, especially in the United States of America, which is the most racist country on this earth. This is the most racist country on this earth. Strategic racism. And it has been so successful that it has oppressed and suppressed our people for hundreds of years and continue to do so. They're still talking today about the education, the public school education. Really? Right. Come on. It's 2022. If your public schools are not educating people and it's 2022, it's because you don't want them to. You don't want them to. If you wanted them to educate people in the urban community, they would be doing that. Right. Why is it that the only high school in Detroit public school system, the only high school that I could remotely consider to send my son to his Renaissance? Why?
Because the system is broke.
I can't even consider Cass Tech no more. Cass Tech used to be good, but now they letting all kinds of kids in that Cass Tech. The curriculum that used to be in place in Cass Tech is no longer in place. The only public school I can send my son to in Detroit public school system is Renaissance High School.
Wow.
Now, if I don't send them to Renaissance, I have to send them to private school, UAD, Country Day, Cranbrook, Liggett, something like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
For him to get a proper education. Education is the key. The number one is God and your spirituality.
Right.
2, family. 3, education. All 3 of those have to be in place or need to be in place for our people to become sustainable again.
Mm-hmm.
They are not sustainable people. Why should I have to have a problem with having a neighbor that has a trash can that they put out for trash pickup and they just leave it out in the street in front of their house for the whole dang old week? Why? Why should I have a problem with driving down the street and there's a young guy or a girl driving down the street in another car and they just throw a bottle outside the car and the bottle hits in the street and glass get all over the place so you can get flat tires?
Right.
Why? That's ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
Our people are stuck in certain states of ignorance. And a lot of the ignorance is perpetuated by clergy because they do not teach them properly. They mislead them. We don't need all Black people being Democrats. Democrats are no different than Republicans as far as racism.
Mm.
They are a greater practice of systemic racism because all they want to put money into is social services.
Mm.
To keep you complacent with mediocrity and getting a welfare check and being complacent with that, when you do not apply your mind, your spirit, or your being to be something greater. They want you to be content with mediocrity. They don't want you to have your own show on the air, on the radio. They don't want you to have a live in the DTV. They don't want you to have your own financial portfolio. They don't want you to own your own company, your economic development consulting firm.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to be a dumb, complacent nigger.
Mm.
Reason why I'm Republican and Frederick Douglass Republican is because Republicans are more so for enterprises, businesses. They support business. They support independencia, independence, and self-reliancy. And that's what our people need to get back to. They need to get back to being independent and self-reliant and not dependent.
Mm.
They are a dependent people. As long as you are dependent on another man to feed you, you never will be able to stand and be your own man with integrity and honor. That's why the Nation of Islam is needed, because the Nation of Islam, assalamu alaikum, is all about independence and being a man.
Yes, sir.
Standing up, having your own.
New Nation of Islam is who we're with, but yes, sir, absolutely.
Yeah.
What you said.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting that you say that Republicans are about enterprise and businesses, because I was recently listening to a podcast called Tweet Talks, and there was a Black man on there. He's big in finance and real estate, educated, going to school, finishing your degrees, everything pretty much you just said. He was because he didn't care about us, was because he didn't care, like he wasn't a Democrat, like you said, just trying to put money in your pockets. He made us more aware that we need to take care of ourselves. We need to look out for ourselves. So I said, there's a point, there's definitely a point to that, because when Trump was in office, we were trying, I got to make sure I take care of my business, my house, I have some money saved up, because we didn't know what that man would do. He's kind of a loose cannon. So when he said that, I was like, well, that made sense. But that made the most sense.
Yep. And I like Trump as a president, and I like Trump because he was honest. He told you the truth, whether you liked it or not. He let you know that America is still racist.
Mm-hmm.
He let you know that America is still racist, and that these don't give a damn about Black people. So you need to stop bamboozling yourself to think that just because you live in Farmington, or because you live in West Bloomfield, or because you live in Birmingham, or because you live in Beverly Hills, that you are one of them, or that they even remotely accept you as an equal. You idiot, they don't accept you as an equal. They never will accept you as an equal. It's impossible for them to accept you as an equal because they are indoctrinated upon the understanding and belief that they are superior to you. So if they feel that they are superior to you, and they have been privileged to be able to feel that way or think that way, what in the hell would ever make you think they ever would think you're equal to them?
Right.
Stop bamboozling yourself. Wake up. I like Trump because he was honest and he let us know what America still is. So you can stop being some ignorant, bamboozled ass color folk. And there's a difference between color folk and African Americans. There's a big difference. African Americans educate themselves. They have pride, they have integrity, they have honor, they have expectations of themselves. Common color folk don't have nothing. There's a difference.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
All righty, man.
That's why I want you to continue to get your education so you can go on and build your own broadcasting company, whatever it is you desire to have, because those credentials are looked upon as making you credit worthy and capital ready.
Right.
You feel me?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
That's just the system that we live in the United States of America. And if we're going to live here, then we need to learn how to manipulate this system. That's one of the ways of manipulating. And a Black person going to college doesn't cost anything up until your bachelor's. Because if you're Black and you have a good GPA, you can go to the University of Michigan. You can go to Stanford. You can go to the University of California, Berkeley, strictly on grants and scholarships, because there's so much money put in pots for Blacks and Black women. They don't even use it because they don't go.
Right.
School didn't cost me, it did not cost me a single dime to go to the University of Michigan. I had a full ride academic scholarship and grant funding. I did not pay a dime. So if you are Black and you have good GPAs, 3.0s and above, you can go to college for free. So there's a misconception in thinking that it costs, when in actuality, it doesn't cost.
Right.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, buddy.
All right.
It's good talking to you. I'm about to get out of here.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate your time again. Gave us a lot of information to look over.
In April, it's going to start in April, it will start. There's not a set date, but it's April of 2022.
April 22, 2000.
Yeah.
Right.
Of this year, we have another cohort that would be starting in April.
Yes, sir. Okay. And then we can feel free to give the people your information.
Please feel free to give them my cell phone number, my email, whatever, so they can make contact with me and we can register them for the program. No problem at all.
All right. And one last time, can you just tell people who you are and what channel they're watching?
They're watching Live in the D, correct?
Live in the DTV.
Live in the DTV. And my name is Paul A. Garrison. I'm the director of the Osborne Business Association New Economy Initiative.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, sir.
All right. You take care, buddy.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
It's the vibe for me. It's your vibe for me. Do you see me out there vibing free?